just had a comment in my Slayer Helm tier list video where 19 Aussie 96 said, "Nice one, boss tier list next." And obviously I replied, "Inclined, sure can, that'll be my next one." So here it is now. This is a video I'm going to be doing with the boss tier list. So let's get cracking. So we're starting off with the Chaos Elemental here. This one I have made guides about with combat achievements. I've also done a few more kills after. I'm working on another video actually in the pipe works for grinding this boss, but for the actual fight, it's a very simple fight with the flinching method. It's not actually all that bad. If the PKs didn't, it wasn't out in the wilderness deep level with multi-risking or even just getting PK'd out there, I would probably, or be PJ'd, wouldn't it? I'd probably put this at like a B, but because of the risk factor, it's a classic boss too. I'm going to keep it a low B, just because it's such a classic boss. It's existed for a long time. I think, was it 2006? I think it came out. I could be wrong there. It could be even earlier than that. 2005 or 4 even. Anyway, I think it was like 2006, I believe, but I could be wrong. Sarachnis. So this boss is a good mid-tier boss for new players. It can still kill you if you don't do the mechanics correctly, which is cool for newer players. And the pet's pretty nice, especially with the Metamorphosis now. I've actually got this one. I'm giving that a solid B tier. It's probably a high B tier actually, because you can grind the crap out of that one. It's not great for money, but the mechanics are enjoyable enough. General Graardor, this is easily a S tier with the homies. If you're doing this one, you can just camp it all day with the T-bow, or you can use Scythe, or you can solo it now with Mage and the 5-1 method. I don't know, I don't do those methods, but I have done it with the Timkin's Shadow, and it's a joke now. So yeah, I'd give him an S tier, probably like a low S tier, because it's a bit boring these days, but it's still a fun boss, especially if you're in a group. This would be more S tier if I'm in a group. If I'm soloing it, it's quite boring and it can still kill you if you're not paying attention, so it'd probably be an A. Very dangerous, so if you're not paying attention or if you're lagging, you're probably going to get slapped on that one. Venonitis, or whatever his name is, so what is it now? Calvar'ion or something, since the update. He's getting an A tier now with the update. He's solid. Really enjoy this boss. You don't get PJ'd either, you can just teleport out, so it's quite cool. But if I was giving it the... That's not Venonitis, is it? It's Vedion, sorry. If it was Vedion with the group one, he's probably going down to a B or C even, just because of how hectic it is. I wouldn't do that boss, but yeah, Calvar'ion easy an A. Kalphite Queen is going to be an S tier. Enjoyed this boss. Been around for a long time. I think 2005. Drops some items that are pretty valuable, like the Dragon Pickaxe, I believe. It used to be Dragon 2H and the Chain Body back in like 2005, 2006, 2007. It was quite valuable before the GE, but yeah, this boss is a classic. It's pretty easy to kill, and it's a nice, enjoyable one once you have the agility requirements and the, I believe it's a desert, not hard diaries, a desert elite diaries completed. Skotizo is getting a solid B tier. I'd put it probably in front of Sarachnis just because the pet's super cool. You also get the Dark Claw slippers, and also the purple recolor helm, and also the fact that T-bow just kills it very easily, so it's an easy one you can do daily. For your clue scrolls, it drops a clue scroll, 100% hard clue scroll, so yeah, easily a B tier for Skotizo, but mechanics wise it's a joke. Venonitis or Spindel, I'm going to give this one a C tier. Don't enjoy either of them, and yeah, just Spindel's easy, Venonitis is a pain what else can I say? Like, if you enjoy this, you enjoy this. If you don't, you don't. I'm in the don't camp for that one. Hunllef, I'm going to give a solid A tier because it's such an enjoyable boss. If you're sort of in the Zulrah Vorkath stage, this is the one you jump to next, and it just gets you a bit more focused on things going on at once, mechanics, and you can make a bit of GP as well still, so it's like fair enough if you want to quit and begin this one. Pet's one of the best in the game too if you're into that stuff, so yeah, solid A tier for the Hunllef, and it's also locked behind I was going to say Swords of Revealing Light, like Yu-Gi-Oh, but it's not Swords of Revealing Light, it's what's it called again, that elf quest, not Roving Elves, Song of the Elves. I don't know why I was singing Swords of Revealing Light like fucking Yu-Gi-Oh. Anyway, so yeah, Song of the Elves behind that, so that's a pretty cool one. Scorpia, I'm going to give a solid B tier. I really enjoy this one. It's high level, wieldy, so you've got the thrill of possibly seeing a PK. The pet's super dope, and it's a cool one to just use some flame gear like mage to pump this one, and it's got the scepter now, I think Samurai's scepter or whatever it's called, which makes this one quite easy. Yeah, so give that one a B tier. Sorry, squeaky chair. Very squeaky. Corrupted Hunllef. This one is getting an S tier because we all know it's one of the most challenging pieces of content in the game for the solo. Obviously, it's got quite considerably easier over time as players have adapted and shifted their skill sets and done it for a while. But if you were doing this pre-Runelight, well, not pre-Runelight, but pre-Runelight helpers, you probably found this quite difficult, and it was at the time very difficult content. And now it's, people might call it a joke or whatever, but it's still mid-level for most players, but high level for the majority of players, I would say. Mid-level for most, but for the majority, actually that's the same thing, that doesn't make sense. For the majority of players this is high level, but for the elitists it is mid-tier. That just probably crap through that like it's a joke. But the Corrupted Hunllef challenges in the combat diaries are some of the most difficult for soloing, especially the time ones. You're going to struggle if you're not quick enough. So yeah, definitely this one is one of the most difficult in the game, I would say. What we got next? We got Nex. That's how I'm going to say that. So Nex is a solid S tier. When that was released, was it 2011 originally? It was one of the best bosses in the game, especially for duo or trio. It was one of the hardest pieces of content. Still is one of the hardest if you do solo or duo. It's just remarkably hard with the difficulty in a what do you call it? In a massive group. Is it free for all, FFA, whatever? In those ones it's fun in that setting. It's super easy to do. Obviously the drops aren't as good, but it is, over time, if you do it enough, you'll get a piece or a pet, and you in that sort of corpse. It's like that sort of Corporeal Beast boss, but with higher requirements. So yeah, easily an S tier. The drops are like really, really good, and it's a cool boss that has been in the game for a long time now. Yeah, this guy's getting a D. He's getting a D. He's wilderness, he's shit, he drops nothing. He drops a fedora so you can pick up all the ladies at the bowling alley. He's getting a D because he sucks, and his attacks are that where he rains down, I think, in a 3x3 thing where if you get hit by it, you're either not looking, you're slow, you're like a potato brain, or you just don't care and you tank it anyway because the boss is a joke. So those three things, he's getting a D. Abyssal Sire, I would say this boss gives me hemorrhoids. I'm going to give it a C. On a good day when my ass is feeling nice and comfy on the toilet seat and I'm not in a grumpy mood, he gets a B. But yeah, this gives me hemorrhoids, this boss. I've done combat achievement guides on this and it has been quite easy. But the actual fight with the tentacles, I think they should have changed it by now. Like at the start, it was a token sort of thing where you put it in. But to this day, most people forget about this boss. If you're an Iron Man, possibly this boss is fun. But if you are a main like me, you will not want to go to this boss. I've had the pet drop, I've made the Abyssal Bludgeon, and I'm not going back to get Abyssal Head, which I've already got from an Abyssal Demon to recolor the helm, among other Abyssal Heads sitting in my bank. And I'm not going to go there for an Abyssal Dagger and is it a jar of miasma or whatever. So yeah, I'm not going to unlock those for a long time. So C tier for the Abyssal Sire. If it was Abyssal Demon, it's getting an S tier, but Abyssal Sire is getting a C. Okay, so Vorkath we have next, and this one is a high S tier. I believe, actually, I would put Vorkath... nah, I'll keep him there, just because it's a bit of a... Oh, I'm back, sorry. Vorkath, I'm going to give a S tier. I'm going to give it an S tier. I think that this one is probably a low S tier, below Kalphite Queen. The money makes amazing, and at the time of 2018 coming out, it was quite the boss. Everyone was doing it. Wooks, Bodhi, I always remember them streaming this, and they had crazy amounts of views because they could change I get the one for one. I'm giving it S tier because it created the Ava's Assembler, which is one of the best range offensive item backpacks in the game, in the cape slot. It created the max cape version, which is a nice blue color. It got the nice Borky pet, which a lot of players wanted. Obviously crapped out money, and at the time it had the Woven, what was it? The Visage thing, which the Dragon Visage for the range shield, which looked super dope. And over time also it's had the recolor for the Slayer helm, which is what looks like one of the coolest ones after that update on the Slayer helm, the second update. And then also the crossbow, which you get if you've completed the Elite Combat Achievements, which looks really cool, the blue Vorkath color. So yeah, that's an S tier for those reasons. Could bring it down a little bit over time with the bot farming, but bots for every boss have ruined a lot of those. This one, I can't remember its name, Vardorvis, was it? I'm going to give this a low B tier because I find it more annoying than the Chaos Alley, to be honest. Haven't killed it enough yet. It might be with the money, and the pet could drag it up to a high A for me, but obviously this is subjective, remember, so I'm going to give this a B tier. King Black Dragon is easily a S tier boss. This might be, again, is subjective, and it might annoy people because it's such a newbie boss, but the things going for KBD is it's been in the game since Classic. But to me, that's already, for me, in a game when the boss has been around. And back in the day, if you ever did KBD, you'd know why I'm giving it an S tier. If you played Classic, if you played when I played, which was around RS2, the peak of RS2, this boss was the mighty foe of RS with the Kalphite Queen, and you would need large groups with Rune and the Dragon Fire Shield, Dragon Longsword you'd be using, or if you were rich enough, you'd be using a whip, which at the time would have, when it first came out, like you're looking at 10 to 15 mil those were selling. I remember Nova Life used to sell them for heaps. So yeah, those things. Then when you bring to OSRS, you got the dragon. Well, first before OSRS, you had the dragon head that you could put in your POH, which was super dope and a flex, which was rare at the time. You also in OSRS you had the Slayer helm, the black Slayer helm, which is cool. You also have the black, again like Vorkath, you have the black crossbow recolor for the hard achievements, hard combat achievements completed. And also, it's quite a cool boss when you're on a Slayer task. You can kill it, hopefully get the pet or dragon pickaxe. So, or the Visage if you're lucky. Probably luckier if you get the pickaxe. So these reasons, it's getting a low S tier, and I'm staying on that. Zulrah is easily an S tier for Osiris, and I would go as far to say this is actually, for me, I'm going to put this ahead of Corrupted Gauntlet, because at the time it was the most challenging content for OSRS in 2015, I believe. I could bring it down to a low S because of the blowpipe that changed the meta of the game and was way too overpowered. But I'm not going to bring that into this because it just screams old school RuneScape. It's one of the classic bosses that they brought in that RuneScape didn't have. It was its own flavour of the time. It had its own mechanics in a sort of U shape that you run around, lots of different things going on, prayer properly, making sure you had the right equipment for it was cool, like that RPG meta with the Ring of Recall at the time before Suffering came in 2016. This boss in 2015 was quite the challenge indeed, so I'm going to, and it's still to this day is awesome for money, has one of the coolest snake pets in game, the Tanzanite and the Magma Mutagens, or whatever the red one's called, they are cool. I have the Tanzanite, I have the Zulrah pet, and obviously the blowpipe now. I love the blowpipe. Back then I didn't, because it changed the game so much, but now to this day, some of those things that brought in those items, Serpentine Helm, this is an S tier boss. Tombs of Amascut, I haven't done enough yet. I haven't really done it at all since the mini quest I did. I'm going to give this a solid A tier ahead of Calvar'ion, just because I shouldn't comment on this. For now, I'm giving it an A tier, subjectively speaking, from what I've seen, what I found in the mini quest. Haven't done it enough. I guess I could give it an S tier if I do it and I enjoy it, or I could give it lower, but I think it sits somewhere in the middle here in A tier. Nightmare, same thing, haven't done enough. I've heard it's super grindy. I haven't completed this before. I'm actually going to keep this down here because I actually never tried to attempt killing it, whereas I have actually done some of these bosses. But yeah, one day I'll get to that boss and crank out these combat achievement guides. What have we got next? Barrows. I'm going to give Barrows easily a high A tier because this content was in 2005, changed the game with the armors, and it provided like a very mid-level entry into PvM, and still to this day people enjoy it for Iron Men progression, and it's a big part of RuneScape. Also, it is one of the coolest pieces of content at the time with the classic gear looks and the gear sets that they gave effects. Remember, if you played in RS2, you would go to the Jewel Arena in your Darox and you'd be maxing on friends, or you would then take it out to the Wilderness and PK with your full Darox set, Fire Cape. Used to have the D-Mace combo, if you boys remember that, with the old D-Mace, and then follow up with the Darox hit low HP. But yeah, this is easily showing off the Barrows at the Jewel Arena, I remember before, and then staking was massive too, so a lot of people would have those Barrows staking jewels as well. Good memories of that. With the Rex, DK Rex, I'm going to easily give this I'm going to give this an S tier because it's a classic piece of content. One of the best ones to camp for the Zerka ring. I got the pet on this one. It's a nice looking pet, obviously. Very basic, but it's cool. And also just the fact that it is very easy to safe spot, and it's enjoyable if you got it like on a second monitor watching something. Very casual for that type of boss. So I'm giving that a low S tier. And obviously they don't have the Supreme or the other ones, which I'm surprised here because they are different. But I suppose this is DK Kings because that's what I do. You tribe breed soloing it on Slayer task or off Slayer task. Even with a mate, you could obviously duo or whatever. So for the all three factor with the rings, they drop the valuable rings and the pets, and how fun the tribe breeding is. Yeah, easily S tier, low S tier. The Whispering, whatever it's called, I'm going to give this I'm going to give this a high B tier. I think this is where it belongs, to be honest. Not much more to say about that one. Hydra, I'm going to give I'm going to give this an S tier as well. Obviously here you can see I got a hell of a lot of S tiers, but these are the ones that I feel belong there. Obviously I have good memories of this. I had a video from a long time ago and I first killed this. I got all the drops from it, except for one at the moment I'm working on, which is knives or something, of the collection log. So this one made you think, you had to count a few different things going on. So I definitely would give this a low S tier. TzKal-Zuk I haven't completed yet, or haven't really tried, so I'm going to I'm not going to rate that yet, but I'm going to say I'm going to give this an S tier when I do complete it eventually. Armadillo I would give a solid A tier. It's one of my favourite bosses, but it is also one of the most annoying tanky bosses in the game. I've enjoyed camping here on a second monitor. It's much like the DK sort of thing with you just camping Rex. It's sort of easy if you want to tank, 10 to 15 kills, teleport, rinse, repeat. Yeah, I could, you could probably camp 200 kills a day if you nerded out, but I would give, Armadillo solid A tier. It's one of the classics. Got obviously one of the best God swords of all time for PKing videos back in the day, and just the fact that it has a cool range armor too, and the coolest pet that goes towards it, I think. Also, I love range, so yeah, that goes to it as well, and birds. This one's getting a D tier. He's like his long lost cousin. This guy's crazy in the swamp. I've done a video on him. He's a joke. If you want easy bosses, these two are the ones to do, guys. This is like his long lost uncle. He's a bit older, he's a bit crazier, he drops a pet as well, so he's getting a high D tier. He drops a Chaos Alley, but I would just prefer, with the better rate, to camp the Chaos Alley in all honesty, and for the drops it provides too. Jad's getting a S tier, because it's a classic boss, Fire Cape, not much more to say. Done some guides on it. It's just a classic boss that we all know and love. Really, released in 2005, was one of the hardest bosses in the game. Didn't see many fire capes. It was more like a PK's thing. You'd see PKs with them because they were generally better at the game than most players. And this would be around the time of Kalphite Queen. These two bosses were the perennial all-star bosses. They were hard to beat. Callisto, or Artio, whatever it's called, I'm gonna give this a high B tier. Pretty fun boss, pet's awesome. Callisto can get stuff, but yeah, Artio, whatever his name is, pretty cool boss. Kraken is a meme boss, but I still enjoy the Kraken, so I'm gonna give this a B tier just because it's so fun to just camp there with your mage, get the task done, get some Alright, so where we at? Sorry, I just had to go away to do something then. Back here now, so the power of YouTube editing. So the Smoke Devil, Thermonuclear Smoke Devil, I'm actually going to give that a solid A tier. I really enjoy that when I get the Slayer task, and the money per hour is okay, and it's just an easy walk under sort of Slayer boss. That's really cool to do, and I think it's one of my highest bosses that I've killed too. I think I still don't even have the pet yet, and it's like getting there to 5k, so yeah, it's a bit stupid, but yeah, enjoyable nonetheless. Obor, I'm gonna give I'll give the Obor a C tier, a low C for those free-to-play players, and the challenges have been fun for that, and the free-to-play combat achievement challenges. Xeric is easily an S tier, I would say, before Zulrah. I think it's one of the best pieces of content, probably. I still need to get more involved with it. I've never been massive into raiding because I come from raiding in WoW, where it was I'd done all that, and obviously old school RuneScape has its own version of raiding, but the Chambers of Xeric is awesome. One of the best ones. I really enjoy those bosses. Hespori, I'm going to give I'll give it a high B tier just because it's a cool farming boss. and you get a chance of the Tangleroot pet, obviously. If you're into those pets, that's a pretty cool one. And also you get the bottomless bucket for the compost, which is really useful for your whatever the compost you use. You can put as many as you want, or how many it's limited to, into that bucket. So that's pretty cool. Theatre of Blood, I haven't really done it enough. Realistically, I'm not a massive raid, as I've said. So I'm actually going to put this as have not sort of completed, because I haven't done the normal raids. So I definitely haven't done Theatre of Blood properly. I probably will get to it one day, just when I make a team, because obviously it doesn't scale if you solo it, so it's really hectic soloable content. But one day we'll get there for group. I reckon some of my mates in the Discord. Giant Mole, it's such a classic boss. I want to give it an S tier, but for me it's a very high A tier. So it's been around the game for ages, gives you a really cool pet. The bird's nests are pretty sick, but beyond that, it's a very basic boss. It's sort of annoying unless you're using a really high-powered weapon set or weapon to chase it around. It can just be one of those bosses you do not really thinking about. So for that, I give it an A tier. It's pretty cool, and it's been around for ages. And it's in Falador, which is Falador Gardens, which is one of my favourite locations, with the nostalgia of when you used to sell and merch items in the Falador Gardens in 2005, when I played, to about 2007. Cerberus, I haven't done heaps of, but for the drops alone, I'm going to give it a high A tier, above the Giant Mole and the Thermonuclear Smoke Devil, because I think it's one of those bosses. Actually, no, I'm not going to. This is mine. I'm subjective with this. I'm gonna give it a low A tier for me, but its rewards and things put it up probably to a high A, even low S. But for me, I don't enjoy it as much. It's just I can't really explain why. I've just never enjoyed its mechanics, and for that reason, I'm going to give it an A tier, a low A tier. Phantom Musper, I'm going to give a high B tier. Super rewarding boss that is extremely annoying over time to kill. I actually got in the top. Trying to think what I got. It was easily in the top. Trying to think, it was top 100. Yeah, it was top 100. I think I was like top in the second page of high scores for this boss. From memory, I've made videos about it as well. You might know, if you saw me on high scores at that time, I had heaps, and I'd basically completed the collection log and all the achievements, and it's one of the bosses that I have actually mastered, which is pretty cool. So that means that I've got all the collection log completed, and also all the combat achievements, which goes up to Grandmaster completed. And also I wanted to say the Venarted bow is a huge reason. It could even bring it up to an A, but going off the actual boss fight is AIDS after a while. It's like really over-consuming of your brain, it's just one of those grindy bosses. I can't really explain it. It's just a grind. Leviathan, haven't really done it much, but I've obviously enough to know that when I get into this boss, I'm going to give it I think I'm going to go, from what I've heard about it, S tier. It could be like one of those new, I might put it in front of Vorkath. It's probably going to be my boss that I'll enjoy, with what the fight I've seen so far from the quest, and I would probably give it above Vorkath for the mechanics. It's really quite intense at times, and also the Awakened one is really one of the harder ones I've heard. So with that in mind, I think this will be one of the new foundational bosses to test your mettle, especially out of the Desert Treasure quest bosses with the Awakened ones. Sire, I'm easily going to give a S tier. I think I'm going to put it for solo content. I'm going to put it above the Nex, because I find obviously soloing Nex is difficult, but soloing Sire is not pipe dream. It's easy. So I'm going to put Sire as an S tier. Great boss, great loot per hour, and easy run mechanics. Over time, people who are jaded from it probably wouldn't give it an S tier maybe, but for me, with being like not as many kills as others, yeah, definitely S tier content for that boss. Duke, I'm going to give a... I would give it a... You know what? I was going to give it high A, but I'm going to give it a S tier above Graardor, because I really enjoy soloing this boss. I think it's one of the best solo bosses in the game for a chill boss that you enjoy. And even the things before with the barrels and the putting the things in the barrels and things, I don't actually mind that with the concept of this boss. And over time, I could see myself probably grinding out for the pet, which is pretty ugly and cool at the same time, cute, people say, but I don't know about that. But yeah, it's definitely for the rings as well, to get them, and the pieces for the axe would be on my radar soon enough. Corporeal Beast, masses, I've done solos a bit for the combat achievements. I'm going to give this a high A tier because it's been in the game for ages, and also the shields are my favourite. Back in the day, I used to own an Elysian shield, and I've owned, like, in RS2 when it was like 2000 probably 2011-ish, and they obviously released 2009, and the colour scheme of them, if you remember when they first came out, you could hardly differentiate them from the Spectral to the Elysian or the Divine to the Arcane, etc. They had very faded colours. Then they had an update which really livened them up. So those sigils dropping is a big part of me giving this A. Also the Dark Core, mechanics, things like that. Mass Worlds being fun with the homies if you like in your clan. It's a cool boss for that. And soloable, that with making it solo really easy, that's again raised it to an A, high A for me with this sort of content. So on to Bright Feeder. I'm going to give it ahead of Obor, obviously, being a free-to-play boss, and dropping the Staff of Nature. Is it Staff of Nature? And I think that's a pretty cool token drop to get. And also, it's one of those little side things you can do, like the Champion Scrolls, because I've heard it's pretty grindy, especially for like Iron Men who have to make all their stuff. So that's a cool little challenge. I think that one I give, the C tier in the middle there for newer players. And and in general, newer players probably give it more actually. And last one that I've done is the Gargoyle boss. Just trying to think where to put this one. I actually enjoy the Gargoyle. I'm going to put it in front of Barrows, around there in the A tier. I actually really enjoy the Gargoyle boss when I get a Slay task to do that one, and it's an easy one, and the pet's cool, and the mechanics are good, and I still got to work at the combat achievements, which I'll smash some of those videos out. So for all in all rating, A, it's sort of in the middle there with A tier, and it's for like 75 Slayer, so a lot of players can get involved with that one. So that's to wrap it up. That's the bosses I have for this boss tier list. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. As the commenter suggested, thank you for letting me know about this one. I'm going to have another tier list popping out pretty soon, like me after a Mexican meal, so get ready for that one. And these ones staying here, obviously these ones I will get to attend to soon enough with doing them. And then obviously if there's any bosses missing, which there will be, this isn't like one where I've done quests. I could do quest ones in another time, and even lists I've seen where they actually rate every sort of boss, not every boss, but they've done like all the Chamber of Xeric ones, which I quite like, because I think Chamber of Xeric, you have to do that instead of summing up, because obviously you go in there and you get a mixed lot of them, and they're not always the same ones, so they could be different. So I think keeping that in mind, it would be nice next time, maybe if I do one in the future again, to actually rank Vespula and Tecton and Ice Demon and the Shamans, because they're all bosses. Realistically, they're mini bosses, demi bosses. So I hope you all enjoyed this, everyone, and I'll see you in the next tier list. Peace.